Give me 2.
Death by stereo.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. All automobiles.
Yeah, the party reached the pounds you're gonna fly, and that is out of here, mister! Dylan! You son of a bitch.
What's up, Nerf Herders? This is Bootzilla.
This is Big Perm.
J-Bone.
Welcome to the Nerf Herders podcast. We're breaking down everything with Stranger Things. This is a huge, huge phenomenon right now. Totally took Netflix by storm, and everybody's raving about this show. So we have all buckled down, watched the 8-episode series. We're going to be talking about everything, tons of spoilers. If you have not seen Stranger Things yet, do yourself a huge favor. Go watch that, then come back and listen. If you have seen it, stay along for the ride here because we got a lot to talk about. Very, very simple to get to the plot here. Let's just dive right in because I'm excited as hell to talk about this. Basic premise to this, we're set in the early 80s. We're following a bunch of kids, good friends and everything, and one of the friends winds up going missing in the heat of the night and leads to this huge investigation of where did the friend go, what's going on in this city. It's a very small town in Indiana. Shit starts getting crazy, and you kind of just watch this whole thing unfold here. So, kicking everything off, the show starts off. We've got a real nice introduction scene. I thought it was really cool how they did this very like horror-esque type thing. Got this laboratory guy just running down a hallway, super anxious, slamming on the elevator and everything. Lights are flickering, which you don't know what that means quite yet. So, you know, all these lights are flickering and stuff. Looks up, you don't see what happens. Gets dragged up, and you see as the elevator doors are closing, the feet kind of like disappear. Super cool intro scene, man, just to kind of suck you in.
Yeah, well, first off, I finished. I remember a lot, but I don't remember quite as much as what you remember because you just wrapped this up like what, a day ago?
Yeah,
2 days ago.
Real fresh in my mind.
So I'm like 2 weeks out. Maybe, whatever, a week out, 2 weeks out. I think you are too, right?
Yeah, I watched it about 2 weeks ago or so, but I've still been kind of following everything, you know, reading up on stuff, so I'm pretty fresh on it. But that opening sequence is awesome. Really sucks you in just from the start, and I think this show just kind of caught everyone off guard. No one was really expecting this from this TV show, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you got the Duffer Brothers, and it's just they've never done anything before, really, and they come out with this smash hit.
Yeah,
I agree.
No, absolutely, man. And, you know, they kick off with this beautiful intro just to kind of get you sucked in right off the bat. You already know that we're into some sci-fi kind of thing here. Lots of mystery. Questions already kind of like flooding through your brain. And then we're introduced to, you know, kind of the real stars of the show here, you know, the kids who really kind of run the show, which is really nice about this, man. It was a huge homage to... you know, can name multiple things, man. Stephen King, Spielberg, just
oh my God,
seeing good kid actors act like normal kids, right? And you get that feeling from the first time you see them sitting there playing Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. You know, totally just being kids, man. You know, swearing and talking like a kid normally would if parents weren't around, and it was just so cool.
What's that little monster called again? The
Demogorgon?
Yeah, Demogorgon or something like that. Yeah, but no, I really. From the first episode, I just felt, I felt like so hooked, man. Like it felt so good. Like everything about it really kicked off, I think, beautifully. From like the acting to even Winona Ryder, dude. Like she, I mean, I know it's just, we're talking about first episode, but even for all the episodes, man, all 8, she was awesome. Like... It's kind of like Winona Ryder. Wasn't she that woman who stole things? Like, yeah, she was, and she's back, dude, and she kicked major ass, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that hooked me the most on this, aside from the opening sequences, was the opening score, so that theme song.
Oh, so retro,
so cool, man. It's got that mix of 80s video game, you know, mixed with a little bit of sci-fi, horror-esque score to it. I mean, it was just so well done.
That Tron Lawnmower Man theme, dude.
I mean, the lead into it was so cool, too, man, like the first time you hear it, because after the kids get done playing, you know, it's like the whole, oh, Mom, please, just a little more, and it's like, shucks, man, we got to stop, guys, and they take off and stuff, and then, you know, Will Byers, the kid who winds up going missing, sees that, looks like an alien creature in the road,
Right.
totally goes off, badass kid, runs through the house, pulls out the rifle, ready to go apeshit, and, then you get that flickering light again, and all of a sudden, boom, gone. And then we kick into this intro with the music. It was just, it was beautiful.
Definitely. I think that intro is just amazing. They just really captivate you from the get-go. And I think it was awesome how they were able to squeeze everything into 8 episodes.
Oh, I think
You
it
know,
was.
Well, it felt like a long movie almost. It almost
did.
didn't feel like a
Yeah.
series. It was just like, this is a very long movie.
Exactly.
I feel like the 8 episodes. Yeah, so that's. Man, I'm
But I think
like,
that's
I'm
a, I
getting
think
ahead of
that's
myself
a,
here.
I think that's a really cool kind of homage to what you were saying with Stephen King. Stephen King was historical for those TV miniseries movies, right? Those 4-hour
Yeah, dude.
movies that translated to a TV
The
spot.
Stand,
The
the
Stand,
Langoliers.
the shot, like all these. Yeah, exactly.
Langoliers,
Remember
oh God.
Langoliers, dude?
That cheap CGI when they're like
When
trying to
CGI
take
was
off.
first being played with.
The only thing about like the Stand and Langoliers and stuff like that, yeah, it's classic Stephen King. And when you watch it now or you show a kid that stuff now, I feel like they're gonna be kind of just put off by it. It's just so cheap, so cheesy.
Yeah,
But
they didn't stand the test of time very
no,
well, for sure.
but see, what's nice about this, what you said about the 8 episodes, is that when I was watching this, man, I was like, whoa. I felt like if it was 13 episode season, like a Game of Thrones or a Walking Dead full through, not the 6 and 6, but 100%, I felt like it would have been way too much, dude. It would have been way too just. It would have gotten boring. It would have gotten tedious. I felt that with the 8 episodes, you were able to do a cliffhanger on each individual one and made you want to watch the next episode and want to find out, what happened to Will. And, I'm off subject here, but I mean, my favorite character probably throughout the entire series is the cop, dude, Hopper. That chief.
yeah.
I felt that he was like a struggling cop who lost a daughter. He's like a drunk alcoholic sheriff that people are kind of like, well, it's the sheriff. What are you going to do in our little dinky town? But he is who he is. And then he kind of like comes to realization that, hey, like I gotta like make a difference. You got Winona Ryder yelling at him like, that's my son. Perfect act. God, dude. Great. I love that guy's character, man.
He's one of my favorites as well, dude. Let's touch
David
base
Harbour.
on some of these characters. Yeah, David Harbour. It was Chief Hopper. Dude, so good. Like you just said, Bone, like the character arc of that guy. Because you could tell, man, like from the beginning, it's almost Chief Brody-esque in a way. It's just like, yeah, small town, nothing ever happens here. I'm just kicking back and I'm going on for my ride, and then shit gets real and like there's that call to action now where you have to actually step up and be a good cop. And the dude is a total badass throughout the entire series,
One of my favorite parts, 2 favorite parts of the whole show, and it happened to be with him too, is where it's kind of back to back. It's one big. I'll just say instead of 2 scenes, 2 parts, I'll just say it's one giant scene because that's what it is from what I remember. The part where he finds out the location of the secret government, restricted area, level 4 biohazard base, and he sneaks in, goes in, and he sees what's finally happening, gets knocked out. I thought that was really intense. Gets knocked out, wakes up in his apartment, in his little trailer mobile home, and he's like searching for audio.
Always looking for the bug.
Audio
Immediately,
bugs
yeah.
immediately. And it's like he goes to Winona Ryder's place and
Untwist every damn
oh,
Christmas
dude,
light.
every Christmas. I was like, dude, yes, because damn well, like if you were a paranoid cop, like you would be doing the same thing.
Yeah, I love that when she opens the door too and he's got the sign, it's like the finger to the lips.
Oh, perfect.
So cool, dude.
Yeah, it really had me on the edge of the seat, dude. I really, really enjoyed all of it.
And then you got that whole arc with his daughter, too, that you kind of learn more, like as things unfold. And then it has a huge emotional moment at the end there, man, where he's like, oh my gosh, this is like, I'm tear-jerking, dude.
I thought, this was about midway through when, because it's cool because during that show, each set of characters, whether it be the mom searching for Will, you got her son, Jonathan, with the cute girl at school who's with the jock, and then you got the kids with 11, and you got the cop searching for this missing boy at the diner who died, blah blah blah. And so it's like they all kind of meet in the center there at the gymnasium with the pool and the salt and all that stuff. But I thought I had a theory. Well, I didn't have a theory. I just had a guess, an assumption that 11 was abducted from Hopper, from the chief, and that was his daughter. But it ended up not being true. But I just had this like weird because I never had because you never really find out what happened to the daughter. I think you do later, like through little parts.
Yeah, she ended up dying from cancer and stuff.
Yeah, you find that out.
Yeah, you see it later on.
But I thought 11 was his daughter that got abducted, and then it's just like boom, because he never sees her till like near the end. But when he finally does, that theory was put to rest. But
yeah, that'd have been an interesting twist. That didn't even cross my mind actually, to be honest. A couple other. We'll talk about like some of these adults. I guess we'll kind of break it down with the adults, teenagers, and kids because total different tiers with everybody.
I just got super excited.
No, dude, it's awesome, man. Couple other adults, man. So you got Matthew Modine, who was Dr. Brenner, who was kind of like the main white-haired,
the villain.
The villain, we'll say, yeah. So you had him in there. You got the science teacher, Mr. Clark, who I really liked as well.
What was his name again?
Matthew Modine.
Matthew, okay.
Yeah, and then you got the Connie Frazier character, who was kind of like that agent lady who showed up and capped the guy at the little burger stand thing, and
that was so surprising too.
Oh man, that totally like blew my mind. And then it was perfect foreshadowing, dude. So when she shows up and caps that guy, you're like, holy shit.
Oh, at the
and
diner?
Then, and then you flash forward right to maybe episode 6 or 7, later on, when they show up at Mike's parents.
At the actual house,
and you see them pull. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, they're going to take the parent. But you know what I mean? It was perfect foreshadowing to set that scene up to get
she's
the
hitman.
Yeah, the hitman, dude.
She's coming with the gun.
Well, speaking real quick about that whole government agency, man, because, I mean, I love me a good, juicy conspiracy theory from time to time. And even if it's just fun or if it's legit, still, I mean, they talked about MK Ultra. They talked about, like, brainwashing. I mean, that shit's real. That shit's true. And it did happen in the 80s. I thought it was so cool how they, like, took some real events and like made them into real scenarios to where like child abduction. I mean, yeah, of course that stuff's true, and then they have them in these like little rooms and they're doing these experiments and stuff and these telekinesis abilities from 11. Oh, God, there's so much going on in this show, dude. It was so cool, dude.
Yeah, I really liked
and it was kind of creepy too. It was kind of creepy.
Oh yeah, no, they got perfect with that.
I got a total X-Files vibe from like that whole sequence inside the compound. Especially with like Matthew Modine, Modine's character, like a total X-Files vibe, like
hardcore, dude.
Like you don't have clearance for this information, like only I know, and it's like the viewer, the whole time you're watching this show, it's like they treat you almost as if you're in the show because you don't get any of that information of who he is, where he came from. He's just this unknown. You know what I mean?
That's what I like because you're really learning about everything through the eyes of 11.
Exactly.
You're getting these flashback sequences where she's starting to recall little tidbits based on experiences she's having in present day, and that's really where you're kind of learning more about the facility and how did this wormhole, flip to the upside down portal open up, all this stuff. It's so cool how they revealed all of that. I thought it was beautifully executed using that all through 11's eyes.
Yeah, great writing, dude. Really good writing.
Dude, the writing was unbelievable. That's what I want to talk about, these kids in this, man. The kids are really the star of this show. I mean, by a landslide. Going back to where we were first kind of starting with this, just how natural these kids acted, just like normal kids, talking like normal kids, things that seem super serious and dangerous. As a kid, you're not thinking about that, man. I remember riding my rollerblades down super giant hills, man, like crouched up into a ball like it was nothing. I would not think twice about doing that shit now. But that's how these kids are. You've got that sense of adventure, and you're not thinking about the danger to it. You're just going for it. And that's awesome, man. I absolutely love that. These kids were perfect.
Yeah, they don't really see the consequences as like adults do. They just kind of look at it as like, hey, we got to get our friend back. Here's this building that we got to get into, not knowing that the severity of what that building has inside of it as an adult. Like you can see when the keep on saying cop, but when the chief comes up to the building, he knows that we know, like he's about to enter some serious shit, But when the kids go up to there, they're serious. But when the one character who breaks away and he's climbing up the tree, remember, and he's spying.
Lucas,
Lucas, and he's spying, and he's like, wait a minute here, like this is the van I saw down the road, that parked as like some cable company, and here it is leaving his facility, like he. You can tell, like, he was like, whoa. But at the same time, like, I gotta let everybody know about this. It's really cool, dude.
Oh yeah.
Total throwback to those adventure films with kids. Like the kid team up films, right?
Perfect.
Like Goonies, Monster Squad. Yeah,
Yeah, dude,
exactly,
keep going.
dude.
We just become best friends.
Fucking E.T. Like you have the kids. They're the central character grouping, and they're not. They're kids you can relate to.
Absolutely.
Right? They're the outcasts. They're the AV club, right? They're the nerds. They're into Dungeons and Dragons and science and shit, They're not jocks. They're not popular. They're doing their own thing, and it's something that everyone who likes this kind of stuff can relate to, especially with the sequences with the bullies. I thought that was so well done, and it's also like a total throwback like to Monster Squad, You have the kids getting bullied by these other popular guys, and it all translates together. You see the sister of the teenagers, kind of dating the douchey character. It's
jock,
just
yeah.
Who had an awesome arc in this too, though, man,
Yeah.
because he was not your run-of-the-mill, stereotypical cookie-cutter jock dickhead boyfriend.
Right.
They totally rode that tightrope, man, throughout all the way up until the end, really. Where it's like, oh, he's an asshole.
Well,
he kind of redeems himself. Oh, now you hate him again, and then he totally redeems himself, and you're like, man, he's actually a good guy who's just. He's a confused teenager in high school, man, who wants to be popular, but you can't do the right thing when you want to be popular and stuff. It was perfect.
I love
dude.
that. I
Perfect.
loved it. Yeah, he was like he had that internal conflict of should I be like the good kid I was raised to be, or do I need to have this peer pressure from my asshole friends?
Yeah.
And I think that's something everyone can relate to as well. You have that conflict when you're growing up between your friends and how you really are, right? And a lot of times people are going to influence you to do bad shit. It's exactly what happened here. He was trying to, fit in with his friends, but then by the end of the show, you see, okay, he truly likes this girl. We're gonna go this other route.
But not only likes her, but like he saw, because he thought that her and Jonathan were having a fling together, like a so and so. He sees her at her house on her bed, but this whole time he doesn't know that what we know, that they're actually trying to get this imaginary quote unquote beast monster, and then he sees the monster himself and he's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is what you guys were after? Like, this is crazy. And he totally joins forces.
Yeah.
I loved how he didn't run away, because I was expecting him to run. That was like really where I thought his character was going to go. He was going to show up and then he's going to see this monster and it's like, adios, I'm out of here.
Do the Biff thing.
Yeah.
And then,
Like, I'm going to get out of here, and then Jonathan's going to take the girl and go home, right? But no, he totally is like, I care about this girl. I'm going to defend her honor. Let's fucking go, and totally takes up arms against the Demogorgon or whatever.
Yeah. No, I loved it, dude. And I love that they wound up together in the end, too, man, because they're totally making the play that Jonathan and her wind up together. And you think that all the way until the very last scene that you see her, because, she comes down, gives him the gift, and gives him a kiss on the cheek, and you're like, oh, this is the start of their next journey in romance.
Yeah.
And then she goes and sits on the couch, with the guy that was the supposed douche through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it makes sense, man, because she really liked him. Got pissed because he's being an ass. He totally, made amends by the end of everything. It's like, yes, this makes sense. We don't have to go the stereotypical dorky guy gets the girl. It was cool. It was different than what you would expect to happen.
What I like too is even though it was only 8 episodes, is that you can totally feel like I said earlier, man. Like they really did everything so good. They didn't really. I don't think there was like a plot hole missing, really, from what I remember. For example, the mom is telling the daughter, "Where have you been?" That's something a mom would totally do. Her 15-year-old, 14-year-old daughter, like, "Where have you been?"
I'm in study group.
Yeah, it's late at night, and she's lying to her mom because she wants to hang out with the boy and, go to the party with her friend, and the other friend saying, "No, you can't do that. It feels bad." It's such a it was like, man, this totally feels familiar.
Dude, like in Liar Liar, like, where were you last night? Having sex.
Yeah, no. I thought the dynamics between. I thought the relationships and the dynamics between the kids and their parents were pretty good in this.
I thought
it
it
was
was
good.
It was
beautiful,
really
man.
awesome.
You really believe it too, man. From that first scene, you see the kids. It's just kind of like, yeah, you guys are my buddies. I feel like a kid again. I'm watching this show and I feel like you just sucked me into this world in the first minute of being introduced to you kids, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know we talked about the music. Or the
How about
intro.
just the full soundtrack? Like,
It's awesome.
it was so well done.
They
picked some killer songs, man.
There's a song on episode 5 where they
There it
actually
is,
go.
dude.
Yeah, I'm
I
leaning
know
up
where
to
he's
dude,
going.
Where they go to Will's funeral, quote unquote funeral, the fake one.
Yeah.
And
Ready, dude.
that song, dude. You ready?
Just do it, dude.
That song, they played that song in Metal Gear Solid 5 trailer, and that song, when they played it here on the show, I couldn't believe it that they used that same song. Not only because I'm a fan of the song and it reminded me of Metal Gear Solid 5, but all aside, God, was that song not perfect for that whole sequence?
That was so perfectly
That was
fitting, dude.
that whole where they're putting on their suits and ties, leading up to the wake, to the funeral. God, you couldn't have picked a perfect song for that opportunity. You know, it was perfect, dude. Not only that, but even when the two brothers are listening to "Should I Stay or Should I Go Now?" You know, it's all these classic '80s hits.
They really did
Bowie,
a good job
I mean-
keeping it where it was. They did such a good job grounding it in the 80s. You know, you had their bedroom with the Evil Dead poster on the wall and The Thing. You know, all these really famous 80s movies.
That's right, yeah.
You know, he's introducing
Evil
him to
Dead.
Kiss, and like it's just so cool. It totally keeps you immersed in that.
Yeah.
That you know they took the time to make that look good.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I love that. I've read a couple things with people kind of complaining about that. Oh, a kid wouldn't have an Evil Dead poster in his room or draw. It's like, all right, dude, maybe not. But the fact is, man, they're totally playing. It's all homage, man. If we were gonna like discard the show because we got an Evil Dead poster hanging in a kid's room, come on, dude.
Yeah.
You know, it's all cool things that are just nice little throwbacks, man. You know, Evil Dead, The Thing, the Jaws poster, all those little things are nice little just ticks, man. To be like, yeah, here, this is something that was kind of a big deal then and everything. Like, I love
It is.
that.
It's something that I think really just connects you with the time frame, right? I mean, J.J. Abrams did it in Super 8, where with all the Star Wars kind of stuff in the kids' room.
And yeah,
You know,
Star Wars references in this too, man.
You know, it keeps you right then and there. It's awesome.
Yeah, Super 8 is a perfect way to like kind of line up the show. You know, it reminded me of Goonies, reminded me of Super 8, it reminded me, you know, like you're saying, all these kid-centered movies from the 90s and 80s, and, you know, even like The Burbs, you know what I mean, where you kind of feel like you know every character pretty well.
Yeah.
And what their motives are, as opposed to feeling, well, you know, like we talked about Suicide Squad, you know, I felt totally disconnected from Croc, from the other Boomerang or whoever, and it's just like I felt so uninterested from them, you know, like.
Well, I think this story does a really good job of keeping you on the edge. You know, you don't know what's happening next.
That's what I love.
I mean, when they saw Will's fake body, and then you see him, you see Hopper go to the mortuary to
yeah.
like cut him open. That was just such a cool scene, pulling out stuffing. I was like, that is so unique, man.
Oh yeah,
Like,
super badass.
super cool to
just
show
to
this
cover it up,
up, man.
They had to cover it up,
You
and that's
know?
another thing, like the government cover-ups, and you know, planting bugs in your little light bulb or whatever. You know, it was so believable. You know, I mean, yeah, the monster, the alternate reality monster, but it's a show. But as far as like the real world experiences,
Well, they did a really
so
good
real.
job with
Yeah.
you know. I think the best thing about
Grounded.
this
It was very grounded.
they kept it grounded. They kept it believable, and they didn't try to throw everything at you at once. They did let it develop over time, you know. So at first you're like, okay, where's Will? Then you're like, okay, these little strange things are happening, you know, like the lights. The changing of the lights, the movement of the wall. They kind of start slowly showing you how this alternate dimension works. And then you get into that conversation where they're playing Dungeons and Dragons and actually flip the board over and kind of say, okay, here's how it works, guys.
Yeah.
And like, it's so perfectly done. You know, they don't want to throw too much at you.
no, I agree. Even with stuff like when Winona Ryder was starting to figure out what was happening, and she wrote the entire alphabet, and how lights kind of triggered the energy to, you know, to communicate. And this whole time you're thinking, man, she's figuring it out. She's figuring it out. And then when someone comes over and is like, you're like fucking crazy, dude. And you're thinking to yourself like, no, dude, she's got it down, and she's trying to show you, but it ain't working. You know, it was really cool, dude. I love
See,
that.
I'm in the minority with Winona Ryder, man. I really did not care for her in
That's
this show.
crazy.
and this is my biggest thing. Nothing happened with her that took me out of a scene or made me just, but what really bothered me, I just felt like she had this presence where it's just, I'm the veteran actress here. I've been around. I've done multiple things. So I need to overact and just make my presence known. And every time she's on screen, I just felt she's just like, no. And it just seemed a little out of place to where everyone else felt very natural to me.
I can't believe I saw that unfold.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
Not my will. No.
God, that's a perfect scene, Winona. Here, go have a cigarette at your trailer.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's on her, if that's on the directing where they're trying to make her way, like, over-eccentric.
Stealing wardrobe shit.
Yeah, dude. Here's a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yeah,
dude. I don't know. That's how I felt about her, though, man. I just felt like everybody's in their own element, and she's kind of the one outside of the box, but still a part of this in a way.
I can see how that can...
Yeah.
I mean, I see your point for sure.
A perfect example with her, and someone else actually mentioned this, and I thought about this while watching the show, and then when someone else mentioned it, I was like, oh, funny, because that's the first thing I thought, is when she's going to the grocery store, right, and buying stuff. We know that you're frazzled, we know that you're freaking out, but you would think maybe when you went to the grocery store or something, you kind of have a nice moment with her where you're trying to keep yourself somewhat composed and be normal in public, but no, she's still just like, it's just like, holy shit, man, you need to just take a damn chill pill.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Her son's missing. I get it. You're frazzled. You're freaking out. Your kid's gone. I get it. But I just thought like that would have been a nice scene where you can see her trying to hold back a little bit, just like, I'm not crazy. I think I'm going to keep it together so I can get home and just go back to, go mode.
Right.
But they still just nonstop. I was like, dude, this is just beating a dead horse.
See, I see where you're coming from. But I also, I liked it, dude. I totally felt believable. There's I'm not going to, tell about it because it'll just ramble on, but, I mean, it gives, a classic 80s approach to, like I said, child abduction, a mom who totally is into their kids and, is by herself and she's just, the two boys, that's all she has in her world. Her husband left her and then poof, her son just wakes up and goes missing out of nowhere and she just loses it, I every time she was on there, I bought it. I just bought it hook, line, and sinker. It's weird.
Yeah, like I said, I was with it. It didn't take me out of the show, but I was like, you're overselling it to me just a little too much. Scale back 10%. You would have felt a little bit more cohesive in this, story that was being presented. Just my opinion.
No, for sure.
But a good point with the husband too, man. Another thing that made this feel so just natural and real is this guy shows up.
The ex-husband or whatever.
So he shows back up out of nowhere, and you seen him a little bit here when what's his face goes looking for him, Jonathan, and he shows up out of nowhere, all of a sudden wants to be the supportive guy. He's sitting there fixing the wall. He's like, yeah, babe, and kind of like things are all normal. And she finally catches wind. Just you son of a bitch, man. You're here to collect money to take care of your shit. Get out of here. And he's gone. You never see him again.
Right.
And I love that because it wasn't like, you're just a thorn in our asses that's going to be around. Yeah. No, dude, you're gone.
I really like that
so
part
natural.
Too. When he showed up, I was like, oh no, it's kind of.
Yeah, hero dad, family's going to be all together again,
I felt like it wasn't something, it just felt weird to me. I didn't want him there. I felt like he was ruining, that kind of special moment that I was, developing throughout these episodes. And then when she grabbed the brochure, your family in a child abduction or whatever it was, need money? Call my law offices. And she's like, you remember effort, dude. And I liked it. How she just kicked him out and that was it, done.
For sure.
You didn't need 3 episodes to kick them out. You just kick them out.
Yeah, that's what I love, dude.
One thing I think probably my favorite relationship in this entire show was between Mike and Elle.
Yeah, let's talk about
chemistry
them
like none other. And she hardly had any lines, so it's crazy how they had such good chemistry.
She was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man, amazing. That. Someone needs to recognize that performance from that little girl in some big way. For someone to have that emotionally invested and dramatic performance in a show like this without speaking any lines, and it's really all through facial expression, it's unbelievable, man. It's especially the scenes when shit's about to get real. When she turns that face on and you know something's going to happen where she's about to use some of these telekinetic powers, it's holy shit, man. I mean, it's every single time it happened. Literally, it's an oh shit moment. It's one of those big moments, dude. Thor grabs Loki and power smashes him everywhere, dude. It's a moment like that where you're just like, oh, because her face sells it so good.
Yeah.
What I liked about her too, just with her, I'm speaking, not with the relationship, but with her and her telekinesis powers, her fucking is that
rock carton big pursuit.
It's that tar.
they
Reptar.
they like slowly showed her powers, like they didn't show her powers like everything that she can do all at once, boom, right off the gate. Like they slowly ramped it up towards the end where they're on the bike and the government's chasing them, and she just boom, and that whole van flips over.
That whole Hulk smash, dude, with
and,
the van.
and the
oh
kids,
my God,
the kids
man.
like,
It
did
was
you
so
see
cool.
that shit? That was insane. She did it, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah.
And it's cool how she gets weak from doing it.
Yeah.
You know, that was so nice where it's not just, well, I can just walk in here and go carry mode and just everything's gone and nothing's going to, like, drain me out. Every time that she did that, you could tell it took a little bit away from her where she had to legitimately kind of recharge and everything. And I loved that.
I thought it was going to, hurt her to where she was going to get killed at the end. But, I mean, she's obviously still alive because Hopper's...
We'll get there. We'll get there.
But,
yeah.
but as far as the relationship, as far as the two, what's the main kid? Mike and 11. I really, I kind of, how do I say this? I wasn't really like crossing my fingers for this like weird little puppy love thing with them going on, but I knew it was going to happen just through sheer friendship and helping each other out, and he's helping her and she's helping them, and it's kind of like this weird it's like this weird structure that they were building for each other. It's like he needed her when she needed him, but I kind of didn't want like this, like I said, I didn't want this like little like this kitty puppy love thing. I wasn't interested in that. I was solely interested on them finding Will at all times.
Yeah, I agree, and I think they handled the kind of love interest thing so well with that too, where they didn't draw any attention to it at all. It was really all done through the story. There was no individual little moment outside of when they're sitting in the school, and you get that real nice moment with them where everything kind of has been building up. You kind of see it, you know it's coming. It's all told through their emotions and actions towards each other and stuff. And then you got that little moment where he kind of just flat out says like, hey, you know, do you want to go to the dance, and gives her a kiss and stuff. So I thought that was a nice way of like alluding to it, allowing it to build up without drawing all this attention to it, where you as the audience just picks up on it, and then even some of the friends made little quirky marks here and there just to kind of to poke at it. And then you have that real nice moment where it all built up to where they're kind of sitting there, and you can tell she's just frazzled. But when he kisses her, she's kind of like, oh, this is something different, but I kind of like it, but I don't really know. And so I love how they did that.
At the ending there.
Yeah, totally love how they did that. One thing that I really, really wanted to touch on this here too, before we jump way far outside of like the whole story thing, I love how you're following basically three groups of people doing three different things, right? You've got the kids.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It all kind of met full circle.
Yeah, so like the kids are
gymnasium.
with Elle or 11, you know, and they're just like, okay, we've got this telekinetic person. She knows the upside down. We got to go find Will, and they're all on the supernatural side of things, right? Then you've got Winona Ryder's character, which eventually her son gets dragged into it. She's kind of in her whole, I'm talking to my son. I got to find my son.
Paranoid mom.
Yeah, gets the sheriff involved, but she's totally on this basis of, I'm talking to my son. I'm communicating. I don't know what to do with this, but this is just fucking weird. And the sheriff gets involved in it, and he starts to believe. And then he's off doing his own thing where he's more investigating this whole child abduction thing within his town now, where it's a deeper thing than even Will. And then everything, man, when it all comes together in this huge culmination, it's like, holy shit!
Yeah, it took like 6 episodes for that to finally happen. When it did, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I was actually going to bring that point up. I really love how they translated this idea of using your imagination between all of the groups of characters, because all of the groups of characters, you have someone who's trying to prove something to everyone else.
Yeah,
they're trying
exactly.
to show everyone else the truth. You know, you have Mike who's trying to say, hey, 11 is a real telekinetic thing, and all the other kids are like, no way.
Yeah, she can find Will.
And same with, Joyce, Winona Ryder. She's trying to tell everyone, hey, I can talk to my son. Hopper's like, hey, this is a government conspiracy. They think he's a lunatic because his trailer's covered in booze, right? Like,
and you got the teenage kids too.
Yeah.
Thinking about that, they're going after the Demogorgon.
Exactly.
So they're strictly just trying to kill this monster because she wants to get her brother and her friend back. So yeah, there's 4 parallels really running at the same time that all pull together. Fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That right there, that is good storytelling, dude. That is good storytelling right there.
Better storytelling than full blown TV shows that take 3 seasons to finally develop a decent story. From characters. Like, they did it in 8 episodes, and they did it better than some of these, like, Fox or, NBC or HBO, Showtime, even, like, stuff like Dexter, dude. Dexter, great, amazing show. But it took a while. It takes, like, it took, like, a good, solid full season or even 2 seasons for you to be, like, I care about, supporting cast.
Yeah, definitely. They hit it home, man. They
That's a good
really
point.
made you care about these characters.
Well, here's to your point, but J-Bone, perfect example with that too, man. Is I just finally jumped on Game of Thrones now.
Whoa!
And we're cruising, dude.
Man, did you finish season 1?
Yeah, we're in season 2 now. Oh, so we're moving. Yeah, I know.
Oh man, dude, season 1 still haunts me to this day, dude. It's so traumatizing.
I know. So we're moving along, but even with Game of Thrones, man, I'm totally into it now. But the first 4, 5, 6, even 7 episodes, it's still just all right. I'm starting to get used to these people, starting to get invested.
Very slow burn, dude.
Oh yeah, I love the story and everything. I was like, this is great. The writing was brilliant. I'm totally into it. But to get into these characters and everything, yeah, it took some time to really get into this show. Stranger Things, first 15 minutes, man. It was hook, line, and sinker.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's crazy how a show can totally do that to somebody, too. Because Rotten Tomatoes, granted what you think about them, I mean, they pretty much, it's so crazy now that how a show or a movie or a video game or whatever can literally be made or broken through something like Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. So it's like you go on Rotten
really
Tomatoes.
It's really sad, man.
It really is sad.
It's sad.
Because who owns Rotten Tomatoes? Like probably Viacom or some big multi-billion-dollar corporation owns them, who owns these studios, and the studios own the, this shit rolls downhill. But anyways, my point is that, you can look at something like Rotten Tomatoes. I think Stranger Things is sitting, IMDb gave it a 9.1.
Rotten Tomatoes.
It's like a 75 or 73, but the user score is like 90.
Stranger's huge on there. I think it's 94%, dude, for all critics and 95 for your top critics.
I don't know.
Here's the thing, though, is it's like
I'll search for it.
It's a nice little concrete thing where you're just like, I love this show. I'm glad everybody else is taking notice too. Like that's the nice thing when you see a big score on Rotten Tomatoes. Or you see a low score and you're like, I love this, and you're a fucking idiot, and you guys have no idea what you're talking about. You old bastards need to watch your fucking Gone with the Wind and move on.
It hurts.
Yeah, it's got great scores.
Okay, 90. Okay, I was wrong then.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, ladies and gentlemen. They're after me. They're getting me. They go out my mind. Will be lobotomized.
I love that this is like such a small, like, independent thing, Like this is what's so awesome, is seeing like sci-fi and horror movies at that low scale getting such recognition for the work that they've done.
Now,
and it's kind of like, hey, fuck you, big Hollywood. Like, you guys suck, and you guys make shitty movies and shitty TV shows, and this little like blurb from 2 brothers who haven't done a damn thing before this except for some random little independent things here and there.
Yeah, 2015 film.
They just owned everyone. Like, they just made the most popular Netflix show ever. More popular than Daredevil,
This was way better than Daredevil, dude.
This is more popular than anything Netflix has put out.
This is one of my favorite shows
I'd
ever,
say
man.
It's as popular probably as like House of Cards, but House of Cards is also 5 seasons deep. So what does that tell you? It takes, like I said, 8 episodes of one brand new intellectual property to blow people's minds. It's insane.
I think the only show that I would maybe say and I don't know, we'll see where this goes with we'll talk about season 2 here in a second, but Breaking Bad might be the only thing I've seen where I'm like, yeah, that was a better show overall. But as far as my favorite show, I think this might be my favorite ever, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
I felt like a damn kid
Dude,
again, man.
yeah.
Hardcore.
What did I
This was
tell
like
you?
Guardians of the Galaxy for 8 episodes.
No, I'm saying serious. Remember when I finished and you hadn't started it, and I remember I was telling you, I was hyping it up, and I'm like, dude, there's nothing wrong with this show. Like, everything is perfect.
Well, that's the thing
about
is,
this
it's
show.
like,
It's
you know, you have all
insane.
these
It
other
is. It's
popular
perfect.
shows, but I mean, I'm going through here, dude. This show has gotten a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than any of those. Higher.
It's insane.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and deservedly so.
Now it's like, you know, I mean, obviously,
we're looking at like 10-15% higher. It's not even like a close thing.
I know you want to talk about the story and stuff because I want to get into like the ending, talk about the ending. But
Yeah, I want to definitely touch base on the ending, man. They opened up.
well,
cans of worms.
You know what? Let's do it because I'll save my one question for the very, very, very end.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. So they kind of wrap everything up at the end. They really give you this full-blown sense of completion across the board. The 3 things that came up that were questionable, we'll touch base. I guess we'll go one by one here. The first thing, which might not be too big of a question, but when Hopper leaves the hospital at the end, when they got Will in there and stuff, he gets into a car with the 2 suited gentlemen, and that's it. Then the next time you see him, he's walking into the police station. So I'm curious as to what that whole thing was. I mean,
Sold
it could have
out, dude. He's sold out. He's
Well,
working
you wonder,
for him.
man. You wonder what that could mean. Could that mean that
was that like you need to keep your mouth shut or we're going
Right.
to kill you type conversation, which they kind of already had when him and Winona Ryder were taken hostage in there. I'm curious as to why that scene was there for a reason. You know what I mean? If they wanted to just get across the idea, well, he goes and talks with these people and that's it, then we already had that. You could have had him just leave the hospital and you see him in the police station. There's something to
there's
that
something
scene, I feel.
more? Like, I feel like almost as if, I mean, they've already done one body switch on us, you know, with Will's body, right? What if there's something going on here where that's not really him, you know? I mean, that's just a thought. Like, I wouldn't put it past them to try that.
They shoot, man. I that scene's kind of fuzzy to me. That's why I'm not saying much. But there's a few ending final scenes that lead up to an inevitable season 2.
Well, let's talk about the second scene with Hopper then, when he goes and drops that food off.
Oh,
And the little outdoor carrier thing.
the
and,
Legos and the little in the forest, right?
Yeah, he puts some food down, and then all of a sudden, like, the Egos go on top of it, you know?
Yeah, because she vanished, right? 11 vanished in the little classroom or something. She,
I mean,
took the
Took out
monster.
the Demogorgon
She took it
and
out.
just disappeared
I
with
guess
it.
you're to assume that she's back in the upside down.
world just running around like Will, and he's feeding her.
But if he's feeding her, then she's got to be able to go in and out.
That's what's interesting, you know. How is she going back and forth like that, you know?
That's what they leave unquestioned. It's like you said, X-Files-y. It's got that X-Files-y thing to it at the end. I mean, they kind of left it to where they don't need to do a season 2. But with popularity and money talks and bullshit walks, they're going to do a season 2. And you know these guys are probably like, either A, they already have a season 2 written. There's these 2 brothers. They're probably already like, hey, you know what? We already know how to fill in those gaps, and we know how to do it perfectly. Or they're probably like, "Oh man, we didn't know this was going to like explode."
Wasn't expecting this shit.
Yeah, we weren't expecting this shit, especially from, dare I say, B-list, C-list actors and actresses. You know, kids that are completely undiscovered. There's an undiscovered just everything. You know, like I said, as a brand new like intellectual property that no one's ever heard of before, you know, and you're just throwing it out there, and Netflix just happened to say, hey, you know what? We have hope in you. It sounds good, looks good, writing's good. Yeah, we'll throw it on there, and then kaboom, blammo, dude! It just explodes.
Yeah, dude, this was Flappy Bird for Netflix, man.
That's perfect.
But it's like you wonder, man. Like, I mean, they had to have set that up to keep it open. That 11's obviously alive. I think that's the easy conclusion to that there.
Yeah, she's fan
And
favorite.
that's why you have Hopper doing it. If it was something just to be like, well, the spirit carries on, we'll say, they would have shown the kids doing something cute with the Egos. That's my opinion. So she's definitely alive in some sense, and maybe the second season's going to pick up with them going to rescue her from the Upside Down, and maybe something more with this governmental lab.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, I don't know. That whole thing that I said about his replacement of his body is probably just a wild ass thing. More than likely, I mean, what if he's like working for them now, you know? Or what if it's like, hey,
Sold
like,
out.
you know, you keep your mouth shut or you're dead kind of.
I hope it's more like that, dude. I would hate if they totally compromised that character, man. They
Yeah.
By
did
having him
such
sell out.
Yeah, they did such a good job building him up, man. That if they do that, it's going to be one of those things where you're just like, I hate to like you, you know?
Right. But no, I think it's awesome how they set those things up. But let's also talk about Will and him coughing up that worm.
Yeah, that was
Or
huge,
that bug,
man.
right? It was a worm,
Yeah.
right? Went down
And
the
then
drain.
it flashed to the other world,
Yeah.
and then it went back. So he still, because he had that
Yeah, that thing down his
aliens,
throat.
yeah, he had
Right.
the alien thing from some Ridley Scott shit going on, and so when they took
It's
it out
so
of
funny
him,
because when they first did that, Riley's sitting there, she's like, "That's just like a face hugger," like immediately.
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like, "Yeah, it totally is."
yeah, a lot of borrowed stuff, and plus too, it took like 6 episodes for you to finally see Will and what he looked like. I really like that dude because your imagination's like, man, what is he doing? What is he,
Dude,
Oh
oh
then
my
they
god,
finally show him.
I was crying so hard, dude, during that whole sequence of like
And they were kind of
bringing him back to
resuscitating him.
life and the daughter of Hopper.
Oh yeah,
I
and
was just
then he
like-
starts just pounding on him, dude,
Yeah.
just hammer fist in his chest.
They're going back
yeah.
and forth between his daughter dying in the hospital and Will being alive. You know?
He was pounding on his chest in the other
He was
world,
trying to
right?
resuscitate him in the
Yeah.
other world.
When
in
they
the-
took the facehugger off of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because he
But
was
he
just
was-
going like hardcore CPR, and then as he's flashing back, next thing you know, he's just like beating on him, man.
And
it was just
and he finally coughed it up.
Yeah.
I was crying.
That
like a
was-
little
that was
kid,
emotional, dude.
I was so.
So I think the there was a theory I kind of read. I'm gonna probably butcher the shit out of this.
Butcher!
But the Demigorgon is recruiting because the next to Will was other kids or whoever, people in general, that were getting face hugged for recruitment to be one of them, except for the fact of the teenager girl's friend who happened to die. Barb, who just straight up got killed. But then again, there was something that she's still alive or something like that. I don't know. Because if you kill off, say for example, you do a season 2, and you got this Demigorgon that's dead from 11, either A, like he was just a soldier, and then you got this bigger boss battle that maybe that wasn't a Demigorgon. Who knows?
Well,
I
they
don't know.
gotta at least figure out where this thing came from, like the origins of this thing
That's
and
what I
why it
mean.
never showed up before.
It probably,
or if
like,
it did
ventured
show up
off.
before, is that how this government agency started, doing their stuff, right?
Well, it
They had
showed
to
up
find
because of
those
that
wormholes.
rift that 11 made.
Okay.
11 created that rift when they had her underwater. Remember, she
Right,
totally
right.
spazzed, and all of a sudden, just broke everything down, and then that rift basically opened up where that.
Oh, the portal?
Yeah, so you can
So-
get into the upside down and stuff. And then there was that other one that was inside the tree, which we don't really have an explanation as to how that got there.
That one's
Right.
weird.
So you gotta figure out, well, has this creature always been there, and has it been able to come through this portal before in other areas, or is this just like a first time occurrence?
Well, they could open this up, man, because I mean, if you really think about it, this whole upside down, this doesn't exist in just this town. And
Right.
thinking about all this, there wouldn't be just one Demigorgon. You'd think there's got to be an entire race of these things in this upside down. If we're looking at parallel universes and there's a lot of talk about that stuff even in, the real world, man, all these different spectrums of light that we can't see, and who knows what the hell else could be right there that you don't know. Very interesting stuff. But you would think if you're going to flip around and do the parallel universe type of thing, there's got to be more than just this Demigorgon. There's got to be this whole dark civilization type thing, and this was just the one thing, quote unquote, on patrol for this area, we'll say, or was a part of this section.
The part where Will finally got discovered at that final one of the ending episodes there, and it just like a boom, and it's just like a jump scare, and they cut it to credits. The monster could have totally killed him, but he kept him alive, and that's why people think
And he was taken before the girl friend lady
Yeah.
was, and he was the one who was he was kept. He was being harvested in a way.
Harvested or recruited for, like you said,
Whatever,
a
But
bigger,
you wonder
a bigger
what did he
purpose.
what did he cough up? You know,
I
could
don't-
that
yeah.
be a baby
Well, that's the
Demogorgon
thing,
or
is
something? What that was a
something,
little
dude.
slug that came out of him. You
Well,
know?
the fact that he had that flash right to the upside down and back. I mean, he was pulled out, physically
Yeah.
pulled out. So something's keeping him in. So is he in the transformation process of becoming a Demogorgon?
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
now
It's
he can
very
transcend
intriguing.
those two universes or those two plateaus of reality.
And that will
Yeah.
be the way how you get 11 back, is through him kind of turning into, let's just say, for example, a monster, but the monster's good. Kind of like, oh man, wasn't there like an 80s movie or 90s movie? It's kind of like the monster is, you feel for the monster kind of thing.
What was that movie?
Oh,
Little Monsters, where they go under the bed to the other world.
I don't remember, but
Talking about Mask with Cher?
no. Maybe I'm thinking of like, I want to say like some sort of Stephen King film or whatever, like Gremlins, not Gremlins, but whatever. I mean, yeah, maybe who knows? Maybe he turns into like one of the monsters himself, but can still kind of like he's the good version. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Of these world of bad creatures, and he saves 11. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah, it'd definitely be interesting because they left that wide open to where they could really run a million directions with that there. Did Will not look like Robin Williams' son in Hook?
Yeah, he did, dude.
Dude,
I
when I
could-
saw him,
I
I was
could
kind of
tell you 'cause I
like,
hate Hook.
I was like, I know that guy, and I was like,
know.
wait a minute, Hook came out so long ago. It's definitely not him.
let's see what Hook's got on.
J-Bone
Rotten
is like the
Tomatoes.
most vocal, like
I hate Hook, dude.
anti-Hook advocate.
When you go to a child daycare center like I did growing up, because
They shove that shit down your throat.
they shoved it down my throat so much, I was
Now J-Bo's a
shitting.
Demogorgon.
Yeah.
I was shitting Hook out my ass, dude. Damn, dude, I can't stand that.
Yeah, he
movie.
definitely looked like the kid in that movie for sure.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, he looks like Hook, little baby Hook, or Peter Pan.
Peter Pan.
But yeah. So season 2 is confirmed though, so it
Is
is
it?
happening.
Is it confirmed?
Oh yeah,
'Cause
it's
I remember when
definitely happening.
Confirmed. They said it quote unquote is a sequel, so you know it's picking up right where it left off.
Are they filming right now, or is it just in the writing stage?
Probably just writing.
Yeah,
They
I'm
literally
sure.
just gave it the green light.
They've got to have an idea as to where they want to go with it. I don't think you
God, it
leave
worries me,
cliffhangers like
dude.
that. It does, man, a little bit because of how perfect and tight knit this was. It's almost like you've got your perfect little utopia here.
yeah.
If you keep expanding on it, are you gonna fuck it up? And I honestly, I feel very confident that they won't. I feel like it's going to be good. I feel like they left these loose ends at the end to just kind of raise questions. It's like, well, if we don't get the go for a season 2, it's satisfying enough to where you just kind of make up your own ending. But it's open enough to where they can just connect dots a little bit and still go.
Yeah, man, it makes me nervous, dude, because like you said, these guys got a good thing going for them, and all it takes is just a little lazy writing and
A little Hollywood.
a little, exactly, thank you. All it takes is a little pepper, salt and pepper of some Hollywood, and maybe a little of their input saying, you know what, we don't, since we're funding this now, we don't really like this part or this part or this. We feel it's blah, 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 because and
We've
then
brought
they
in
take
this
it
team
out.
and they've done
Yeah.
all this research on this test subject of people, and they
Yeah.
say we like this, and this. So you need to put this, and this, and this fucking thing.
And
it's like,
it ends
oh
up
my god,
ruining-
get out of my head!
It ruins it, right? I mean, but these guys,
Seriously.
I think Netflix is smart. Honestly, I think Netflix is smart enough and
Yeah.
like taking over the world to a point to where I think they allow that creative freedom.
and that's what's crazy too, because Netflix is House of Cards, Netflix original. I'm all caught up. That show is, if you like political.
Oh yeah, it's,
Are you all caught up on that?
I haven't watched it yet, but my girlfriend loves it. My parents love it. I mean,
Oh
I have
my
to get on it, but it's
God.
more so I just need to dedicate some time to
That
it.
talk about political corruption to the core. That show is awesome. But yeah, Netflix original. This show.
oh, they're killing it.
Daredevil.
Freaking Daredevil. And you got the other one, the Daredevil.
What, Orange is the New Black?
Orange is
That
the New
one,
Black,
Brittany-
that's a huge hit.
Yeah.
She loves
Huge
that
hit.
show. I can't.
Dude,
get into it.
Netflix is taking over,
What's
man.
the other one,
Like,
real quick?
Your conglomerates, Walmart, Amazon, Netflix.
Yeah.
And, and Yamaha.
It really is.
It's nuts.
What's the female Marvel chick that's synonymous with Daredevil? Jessica Jones. I didn't start it.
I heard it's good.
I heard it's good too. It's crazy
Yeah,
because Netflix
is doing their thing, man. And I hope it stays that way. I hope they don't let anything happen to where it's like, hey, we want to expand this, you know? Like, hey, keep it where it's at. It's grounded. It's got that, science to back it up. Don't go off into this wild stuff that is hard for me to follow and believe.
Don't go not Blair Witch.
Don't go bigger. Don't go bigger than this, You guys don't need to make an entire universe out of this. Like, this thing was perfect in the little town,
Don't do a.
It's kind of like where True Blood lost its touch.
Oh,
They went
yeah.
outside of the small town.
Yeah, as soon as they left Bonton, dude,
Yeah.
it was just...
It was just like the first few seasons. It's secured to this little town. It's an amazing show. And then you go into this like more national thing, and it's like, I can't handle this. This is too much. This is not good anymore.
a perfect example of Hollywood.
They need to do the same thing with Stranger Things.
I mean,
keep it
there's
contained.
a lot of examples of There's a lot of examples of Hollywood just ruining things. One prime example right off the bat, since it's kind of related to the same genre as Paranormal Activity. I mean, as soon as they got their hands wet and dirty with that movie,
Oh, yeah, they just milked, dude.
they milked it for everything they got. I just hope.
But yeah, Scotty, you make a good point.
I hope they don't do it.
Netflix has kind of got their hand on it, and they're keeping that creative control within the filmmakers. So
Yeah, I hope that
All
stays
the two
like
brothers.
that. Got like real quick couple minutes here. Each of us, man, what's one big moment in the show that just completely wowed you, or just something you really love that we haven't touched base on? Just one thing from each of us.
Not really. I don't know. We touched base on pretty much everything. The one thing that really blew me away was the fact that they were ballsy enough to let these like I said, like MK Ultra, these government conspiracies, and they actually went and dove into it. They talked about it. They were serious about it, and they totally went there. They didn't sugarcoat or dance around the bush. Like, they dove in. It was just like, yo, this is some serious stuff, and it all tied into like the main character, or all tied into 11, which is, I guess, a main character, and just cool stuff like that. Gets drugged, wakes up in his apartment, goes paranoid, searching for the bug in his room. It's like, yeah, dude, I think I would be doing the same thing if I was a sheriff from a town and I know what I saw.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool.
Permy.
For me, probably my favorite part of this that we haven't talked about is the whole isolation tank scene. So,
Holy shit.
Yeah,
I
dude.
mean, what really made this show great for me was the whole imagination aspect of it, It gave you that, like you said, I felt like a kid again, right? And I loved how they call up the science professor and they get him to talk about this science over the phone and teach them the ways.
Yeah, I forgot
and
about
they
talking
build
about
this isolation tank in the middle of the damn gym to, like, put 11 in here and have her, like, fully, like, have the power to find where is Will.
With 1,500 pounds of salt,
Yeah.
dude.
So that was a cool scene, man. When you just see her floating in that little tub, and it's just like, oh, I loved it.
Yeah, no, it's sick, man. For me, I know we talked a little bit about like 11's powers and stuff, but the one particular moment, man, like I was the epicness, the epic tears, man. Where you're just raining. You're not crying, but it's just raining water because it's just like, oh my gosh. Is when they're in the school and they're running around and every corner they're getting blocked off. You're like, oh shit. And when she turns, and again, just that stare with the face, and all of a sudden everyone starts bleeding out of the ears and the eyes, and she just completely just whoops their ass. So cool, man.
I think too, in the next season, they're going to show her developing her powers even more to where she's going to need everything she's going to have to develop for,
Yeah.
or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. She's going to need everything she's got to take out whatever the objective end game is.
No, absolutely, man. So, I mean, yeah, we're clearly all excited about Stranger Things and super stoked to see where this is going to go moving forward here. Thank you guys again for checking out Nerfers Podcast. I am Bootzilla.
Big perm.
Worm Derb.
They bone.
Check us out, facebook.com/NerfHerdersPodcast, youtube.com/NerfHerdersPodcast. We're also on iTunes and live on Spreaker. We're going to be going live every Wednesday now instead of Tuesdays. So make sure you guys tune in, leave us comments. What do you think about Stranger Things? We want to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you so much, and we will see you all next week.